Hey everyone, Sam here from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'll be showing you how to make stuffed shells. Stuffed shells are one of my favorite dinner options. They're super simple to make, they are a nice, hearty, filling dinner, cheesy, creamy, absolutely delicious. I think you're going to be surprised at how easy they are to make in your own kitchen, so let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you are going to need 20 jumbo shells. Now, often shells are sold in 12-ounce boxes. That's going to have more than you need. And when you cook them, I actually recommend cooking a handful more than the actual 20. And that's because in case some rip or they stick to the pan, if you're not stirring enough while they're boiling, then you have a few spares. So I actually went ahead and I already boiled the shells. And as soon as I finished boiling them, you're gonna cook them for 9 minutes. So a little less than what you'd cook them to be completely done. These are gonna be al dente. That way they're still a little bit firm because they're going to soften as they're cooking in the oven. So anyway, I've already boiled these and I drained them. And then immediately after draining, I rinsed them with cold water to stop them from cooking any further and to keep them from sticking together. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna transfer these to a baking sheet. And I'm just gonna spread them out in this baking pan. Just setting them here is going to let them drain a little bit more. It's gonna let them finish cooling while I prepare the actual filling. So I'm gonna set these aside and now we can prepare our stuffed shell filling. So you're going to want a medium-sized bowl for this. And the first thing we'll add is 15 ounces of whole milk ricotta cheese. We'll also add 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella, 1/3 cup of grated parmesan, and then the next thing you're going to add is kind of my secret ingredient when making stuffed shells. This is 4 ounces of softened cream cheese. So this is going to add a little extra depth of flavor, a nice creaminess, and I have fed these shells to self-professed cream cheese haters and they have loved them. They've never been able to detect the actual cream cheese flavor. They just know that the filling was really good and really creamy and they loved it. So even if you don't like cream cheese, I think you're going to like what it does for these shells. Next, we're going to add 1 large egg, and I'm just going to lightly scramble this with a fork before adding it in with the cheeses. I also like to add 2 tablespoons of finely chopped fresh parsley, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I actually like using finely ground sea salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground pepper, and again, I like to use freshly cracked ground pepper. The last thing you're going to need is 1 large clove of garlic, and we're just going to press this in with the rest of the ingredients. Now you'll just mix everything together until it's creamy and well combined. I'm gonna see if I can do this in this small bowl that I chose. Don't know what I was thinking. Make sure you use a bigger bowl than I'm using right now. It's gonna make the job a lot easier for you. So once your filling is finished, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set that aside and we have our shells already prepped. Now you're going to need a 9x13 baking dish. So you're gonna wanna set this down and I'm going to just lightly grease this with a little bit of butter. I wanna get the sides and the bottom of the pan. We're going to layer this with just a little bit of marinara sauce. Now, this entire stuffed shells recipe is going to call for 3 cups of marinara sauce. You can use store-bought marinara, but I just shared my favorite homemade marinara. That is what I'm using today. If you haven't tried that recipe out, you're definitely going to want to make it. It's going to really add a great flavor to these stuffed shells. So I'm just going to layer the pan with just a small bit of this, just enough to coat the bottom. Now we'll add our shells. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fill each shell with a heaping spoonful of our filling. And we'll just place these in our sauce in nice little rows. And you do want these shells to be pretty well stuffed, that way you use up all of your filling. So once you have them all prepped, what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest of our marinara sauce. Remember, you need 3 cups total for this recipe, and we already put a layer on the bottom. And we're just going to evenly pour this over all of our stuffed shells. And we'll just spread that around until all of the shells are mostly covered. So once I've covered all the shells, I like to top them off with about a 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese and a little additional grated parmesan. We're gonna cover our stuffed shells before we bake them. So before I put the foil on top, I'm just gonna lightly spray it with a little bit of cooking spray. That's going to keep it from sticking to the cheese. Otherwise, when you go to remove the foil, you'll peel off all your cheese. And you'll of course flip that sprayed side down and just loosely cover your stuffed shells. So now we're going to transfer these to our 350 Fahrenheit preheated oven, where we will bake them for 20 minutes. So once the 20 minutes has passed, we're going to remove the foil and continue to bake your stuffed shells for another 5 to 10 minutes, or until that cheese is melty and even maybe a light golden brown. And that is how you make homemade stuffed shells. These are saucy and cheesy and so good. These are ultimate comfort food. If you guys tried this one out, I would love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey, if you guys enjoyed today's recipe, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you enjoyed this recipe, here are a few others you might like as well.